specifically, actually, we're going to discuss the perfect NFL roster build and why dumping your quarterback might actually be the solution to bring your team back to relevance. So let me just click over to my notes here real fast. So before we can really start discussing and talking about how dumping your average quarterback is really going to save your team, it's what you need to do if you want to stay relevant in this league. You can't start doing that without building through the draft and specifically with an emphasis on the trenches. O-line, D-line is crucial. It's how you win games, how you maintain leads, it's how you get to the Super Bowl. The two teams we're kind of really emphasizing here in this blueprint is two teams that have been there before, the 49ers and the Eagles, both Super Bowl rosters. So just for kind of context to kind of support what we're just saying about building through the trenches, the 49ers have taken an offensive lineman or defensive lineman with their first pick in every draft since 2015, outside of about 2020 where they took quarterback Trey Lance, but more on that later. And they've been out here, in 2 Super Bowls since 2017?
Yep.
Since Kyle Shanahan took over. And just to show it's not just the 49ers that do it, the Eagles have spent 5 of their last 7 first-round picks on either O-line or D-line. And real quick, I know B got a point here. I know maybe a comment might suggest, well, Nolan Smith's a linebacker. He's listed as an edge coming into the draft. He mostly plays edge. You can kind of fit him in like a micro will, but it's really not his specialty. He's an edge rusher. But
yeah, no, that's a good point. And dude, I just want to hit on that O-line, man, because they're not prep work. I was looking at when the Eagles added, their players to that starting offense when they made their run last year. And dude, I didn't realize. No, I knew Jason Kelsey's been there for a while. He got drafted back in 2011, and he was actually with a 6th-round pick, not even the first, right? They hit on him, right? But then they drafted Lane Johnson in 2013. He was a 1st-round pick. Dude, they've been there for damn near over 10 years. I knew they've been around, but seeing it on paper, I was like, damn, no wonder their O-line is so damn good, because they have 2 strong staples there, some of the best at their field, in their spot, and they nailed on them. And again, Kelsey was a 6th-round pick too. That's crazy, man. So I just want to say that quick point. You go on to the next one, but that's just crazy.
Well, I want to build off that. So, and that's kind of exactly the next point we're going to discuss here is you need to nail the back half of the draft. So I know everyone always stresses and emphasizes first round picks. We need as many first round picks as possible. Actually, it's almost more valuable to have more draft capital from picks 5 through 7. If you can come away every year from the draft with 1 starter or a couple backups from the 5th through 7th round, you're building depth that provides sustainability for your roster, right? Those are guys that can constantly fill in when your starter gets hurt or as your starter leaves for, more money somewhere else. These guys can step up and play in, and you're getting them on a cheap deal, which kind of adds us to the next point is you need to retain. So there's different level of talent groups, obviously. So you have an A level of talent, a B level of talent, and a C level of talent. You need to retain your A level of talent. You need to replace your B level talent, and you need to upgrade your C level talent. For example, for the Eagles and the 49ers, it's your core guys. It's the guys that build the culture there. It's guys that are widely regarded as the best players at the positions. They're the dudes that you need to go war with every week. So your core A-level players, you need to lock up the long-term contracts. They usually get top end of the markets, or they're reset the markets. They're guys that are like Jalen Hurts, Debo, Fred Warner, Lane Johnson, AJ Brown, those kind of guys. So,
yeah, and then a lot of people don't even realize this, but teams often replace their B level guy, which is hard because these are good players. These are players the fans know that guy's good, but you have to do that because again, you can only spread the money around so much, right? You can't pay everyone a top dollar. Yeah. At some point, you have listen, you're not our top player. You're not in that top tier. We have to move on from you. So some examples of that is when the 49ers replaced Laken Tomlinson with Aaron Banks to draft him in the 2nd round. And then Kendrick Bourne, who was a lightning fast guy. I remember watching him play. I'm not a Niners fan like you, but yeah, he's been around, right? Then they got Juwan Jennings, right? Emmanuel Sanders, big name, right? They got Brendyn Ayuk, right? So you kind of move on from these players. Even a guy like Javon Hargrave, which got big money last year. in like the market.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? The Eagles replaced him with who? Jalen Carter. First round right there, right? So it's one of those things where you got to keep your A level players, and your B level players. It's hard to say bye, but you have to bring on some fresh talent there and keep that cycle going.
Yep, and I'll even give you one more. Isaac Siamalu was replaced by Cam Jurgens, who was a second-round pick for Philadelphia. So he'd already been on the roster for a year. They let him walk. He ended up signing with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Cam Jurgens, plug and play, ready to go. One of those guys that, as we kind of mentioned before, you need to get depth from the draft. And the cool thing about that, and we'll talk about this in just like a second as well, when these guys leave and sign big money deals somewhere else, you get comp picks back that allow you to reload at these positions. But before we get into that, the last part is your C-level players that you need to find upgrade for. So, for example, some of these guys for the 49ers back in, I think it was 2018, they replaced Marquise Goodwin with Emmanuel Sanders through trade. This year, the 49ers replaced Clelin Ferrell with Chase Young through trade, and the Eagles replaced Nicholas Moreau, the linebacker who just wasn't getting it done, with Shaquille Griffin, who was a late season free agency ad. But moving on to the next big point of this, it's all about the comp picks, baby. You need those fucking comp picks. They are like free money. It's unvaluable gold. Just to give you an example of this, the two teams since 2017 that have received the most comp picks, the Rams at 22 and the 49ers at 21. These are two teams that are known for their depth. It's the reason the Rams have been able to, fuck them picks, trade them away, and bring in these big name players back. And it's also the reason they've been able to bounce back so quickly after those guys have now retired or left in free agency. Guys like Kobe Turner and Puka Nacua are these later round additions that have been helped by comp picks. So just to give you some big
makes sense.
Yeah.
Hey, E, real quick for the common fan who kind of knows what comp picks are but never really heard the term before, can you just briefly describe what is the benefit or what's the purpose of a comp pick? Like how does that come up?
Right, so obviously with the salary cap, you have these teams that are really good at getting their talent, bringing them in one way or another, but obviously you can't keep them because of that salary cap. So as they go on to other teams to keep those good teams still competitive, the NFL, had to been like 20 years ago now, implemented a comp pick system. It's really ramped up in the past, I want to say 5 or 6 years, with new additions such as having a minority coach or minority front office player sign with another team, gets you a third round comp pick. Having a guy leave for big name money gets you a third round or better comp pick. So comp picks are awarded from the 3rd to 7th round. And the simple math is if you sign someone for big money and lose someone for big money, those picks cancel out. So the name of the game is only signing guys you need to and letting guys go that you don't. If you do this, you can get a lot of comp picks back. For example, 2 years ago, the 49ers got 7 comp picks. This season, they're going to be getting awarded 5 comp picks. And for those that are wondering, well, who cares? It's a comp pick. It's a 3rd through 7th round. It's a 7th round guy. It's a 5th round guy. Who cares what does that matter? Just some big names that have been used from comp picks. In 2017, a comp pick was traded to draft Dre Greenlaw for the 49ers. 2021, the 49ers used a comp pick to bring in Ambry Thomas and all-pro safety Talanoa Hufanga. In 2023, this season, the 49ers used the 3rd round comp pick to draft their kicker, Jake Moody, who's been essentially clutch this year. I think he's got over an 80% kick rate for the fans that are stressing out about that. And I'll give you this last one, and stop me if you've heard this name before, but in 2022, with the 7th round comp pick 262, the 49ers drafted Brock Purdy, a comp pick. So you see how they can really play a pivotal role in giving you more ammunition. This point ties into our first point, right? You need to nail those 5th through 7th round picks. How do you do that? You get more ammunition by any way possible. Comp picks are a free money system to get additional shots at drafting guys later in the draft that could end up being all-pro players, quality starters, or your franchise quarterback, apparently. You need to get as many comp picks as you can, and you got to be willing to take chances on those guys and let them develop. So the next point, obviously, is you need to find your starters at key positions. So every team is going to be slightly different, right? Every team's going to prioritize what they need. Us as fans, we go, quarterback, edge, tackle, whatever. But to some teams, their system may predicate more on needing a starting corner or a star corner versus a star edge, or a star linebacker versus a star D tackle. So it's little things like that. For the 49ers, And it's cool to see, kind of, as being a 49ers fan and following this process, it's cool to be able to see how that process has developed over the years. So initially, the process was you need to prioritize bringing in wide receivers, bring in a star tight end, a left tackle, a star linebacker, running back, and a star edge. And now it's kind of grown to where now the 49ers prioritize bringing in a number one corner, hence them signing Mooney Ward, a star D tackle, hence them signing Javon Hargrave. And for the Eagles, for example, a different team, their emphasis has been both of their tackles, not just left. 49ers are starting a 5th round pick at right tackle right now who's been below average. The Eagles have prioritized both their tackles, bringing in star wide receivers, spending a 1st round pick on Devontae Smith, trading for A.J. Brown, tight end, centers, D-line. That's just so every team is going to be slightly different. So you need to identify what is your key, what fits your system, your structure right now. Who are your A-level players, and bringing those guys in. Again, ties back to that second point. All these points kind of go into unison. Mm-hmm. So moving on to the last point, I'm sure you all been kind of sitting there waiting like, guys, you mentioned you got to dump your average quarterback. What the fuck? You're telling me about O-linemen and D-linemen and comp picks and everything else but a quarterback.
Right.
Here's where we get to the quarterbacks, right? I know you all been waiting patiently. Here's the thing. How do I even start this? I'm starting right into it. If you find the quarterback that you want to dedicate your resources to, if you find your guy, right, you do whatever it takes to get that guy. Right? A couple examples of this, right? The 49ers did not wait until the roster was built to bring in a quarterback, right? 2017, they acquired Jimmy Garoppolo for a 2nd round pick, and immediately that offseason handed him a brand new contract that made him the highest paid quarterback in the NFL at that time. Didn't wait, and that was a team that was coming off 2-14 record in 2016. Made a trade for a quarterback before they had any pieces. I think at that point, the only guys that were still on the roster from then to here, star-wise, is like Eric Armstead, George Kittle, who they just drafted, was not a star at that point, and Kyle Juszczyk.
Yep.
So
Juice.
When you identify your quarterback, your guy, you get him. Doesn't matter where you're at in the rebuild process. Doesn't matter who you've got the position. You go with it. To emphasize this further, in 2021, the 49ers made the determination, for whatever reason, play, injury history, whatever it is, they made the determination that Jimmy Garoppolo wasn't it. So they sent 3 first-round picks plus some third-rounders to move up to draft Trey Lance. Right? This is a guy they're still paying high-end quarterback money to. They said, fuck it. Trey's our guy. We want Trey. We're going to do whatever it takes to get Trey. We moved up to 3 and got Trey. Right? That was 3 years, literally just 3 years after handing Jimmy Garoppolo the largest quarterback contract of all time. 2022.
That's wild.
Right? They have the next season, you have former number 3 overall pick, Trey Lance. You have big money Jimmy on the roster. And with the last pick in the draft, they took Brock Purdy, even though they already had Trey and Jimmy. And actually, just a little side note on here real quick. Kyle Shanahan mentioned during Super Bowl press coverage, they actually had a 4th round grade on Brock Purdy. So when it got to the last pick of the draft, they're like, dude, we have to take this guy. And we're not getting him in free agency. He's not going to sign with us as an undrafted free agent. We need him now. Took him with the last pick, even though they already had 2 guys on the roster who could be considered franchise guys on other teams. Right?
That's a baller move.
Yeah. And when they went to that season, and it's a funny additional note from Kyle Shanahan's media press this week, they went into the 2020 season feeling like Brock Purdy was the best out of all 3 guys. Kyle Shanahan literally told Jed York, the owner of the 49ers, dude, I think Brock Purdy's our best quarterback, which I assume cannot be very pleasant to hear as an owner that you just invested all his capital money in these other 2 guys, and the dude you took with the last pick is your franchise guy. And just to further emphasize that, once Brock Purdy started in week 13, they never even thought of going back. The only time they emphasized maybe something else was when Brock was injured and they weren't sure he was going to be back in time for the season. They said, unless Tom Brady comes in, you're our starter. But that was the closest they ever came to suggesting anyone else was going to be it. That's, again, with number 3 overall pick, Trey Lance, still on the roster. Said, fuck it, we don't care. This is our dude. We're rolling with this dude. We love this dude. He's our guy. Traded trade to the Cowboys for a 4th round pick. And the 49ers are not the only team that's done this. The Eagles are another team that did not hesitate to move on to a better quarterback once they knew they had one, right? Just to give you a quick little timeline recap. 2016, the Eagles trade up to the number 2 overall pick, right? And draft Carson Wentz. That's after they just went 7-9 and fired Chip Kelly week 16. right? Said, fuck it. This is our dude. We're doing what it takes to get him. Moved up to pick 2, took Carson. 2017, the next season, his second year, he finished third in MVP voting, and that's only because he tore his ACL. The dude was on a fucking tear. Like, he would look like the next up and coming great quarterback in the NFL. Big arm, mobile, was really taking over things. 2019 comes, and they give him a massive contract extension. I don't remember if he was the highest paid quarterback at the time or they just handed him a top tier quarterback. I know he was top 5 quarterbacks paid in the NFL, right? 2020 comes, so 2019 offseason, they give him that contract. The 2020 draft, they take Jalen Hurts in the second round. They just gave their quarterback a large contract and go, Jalen Hurts, second round, right? It had a lot of people scratching their heads at the time, like, what the fuck are the Eagles doing, right? 2021, the next season, to draft Jalen Hurts 2020, 2021, Wentz is traded to Indianapolis and Hurts is named the starter.
That's crazy, man.
Once you identify your guy, you gotta go for it. Another great example of this, the Bears, right now in the situation, we got a lot of comments about, hey, Justin Fields, build around Justin Fields, you build the team up. Absolutely not. Once you find your guy, if you know Caleb Williams is the guy, you take him and never look back. You bring him in, he's your starter. Justin can go get traded to wherever else. We're rolling with Caleb's if you know he's the guy.
Right. You know, that's a good point. And while you're going through those awesome examples, it made me think of the Cardinals, right? You remember when they took Josh Rosen in 2018? And he had that famous interview, I'll be the best quarterback in this class. Yeah. You know, they're like, actually, we're not going to give you a chance to even prove that. We're going to draft Kyler Murray first overall in 2019.
Yep.
Because that was their dude. They found their guy. And, you know, sometimes that just shakes up. That's like the business of it, right? You could say, oh, Rosen got screwed over. Sorry, dude, it's business, bro. Like, you found your quarterback. You found your guy. Yep. You have to take him right now.
Yep, absolutely. And just to further emphasize that decision, because, you know, people maybe having, you know, recency bias or amnesia or whatever it is and going, well, yeah, of course I took Kyler Murray. Who else were we going to take? Nick Bosa was the second player taken in that draft. He was a sure thing. People felt he needs to go number 1. Arizona would be ridiculous to not take Nick Bosa. And they passed on a future defensive player of the year to take their guy. And now, again, you can maybe, you know, nitpick about was that the right decision. It looks like a right decision to me. They've signed him to a long-term contract. He's their franchise guy. They're going to another new coach and still rolling with him. It tells me they have a lot of confidence in him, and I don't think they regret that decision at all. And that's, again, with Nick Bosa going second. If you're willing to pass on Nick Bosa to take your guy, there's no excuse for your franchise to not take their guy when they identify this is the dude. You trade 3 first rounds, you trade 3 seconds, you trade whatever the hell it takes to get your guy. Everything else can be built later. That's the only point that supersedes the other 3 steps, right? If you find your guy, I don't care about building through the line. I don't care about, you know, everything else. You take your guy and let everything else fall into place as it needs to. You fix it on the back end, but you take your guy.
Yep.
Just a quick bonus point onto this. It's not a requirement of building a blueprint roster, but I will include this. Reclamation projects are, again, like free money. It's like the comp picks. If you have a position that your team is fantastic at, you can look at the Bears and linebackers, you can look at the 49ers and D-line, you can look at the Eagles and O-line, the Steelers and receivers. There's a certain franchise that they have a mystical gift for just developing these fucking dudes, right? You take reclamation projects in, guys that were drafted high, guys that, you know, had some potential. You give them 1 season, you let them be solid contributors, and then you let them walk in free agency to sign with another team. Gets you a free 5th round pick back. That's all it takes. Free 5th round pick you can then use to move up higher in the first round, move from 2nd to 3rd to get or 3rd to 2nd to get your guy, whatever it is. If you can find those reclamation projects and they fit what you need, you get them.
Dude, I was about to say, you just hit on a point that I want to hit for people here. Like when we say like, oh, you get like a 5th round comp pick, you don't need to pick a player at that spot. Like, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, you lost a B level player for a 5th round comp pick. Isn't that kind of bad? No, you can package those picks together to move up, trade for a player, whatever. Like, at times you can draft a player at your comp pick spot. I mean, that's how Brock Purdy ended up with the Niners, but you can use that as leverage,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you want to make a trade either before the season, during the middle of the season, before the when like you can't anymore, like you can just package that stuff together and go get a player that you like need. So I kind of want to bring that point home for people. People might think, oh, it's a 6th-round comp pick, whatever. No, you can use that as trade value and like leverage there.
Exactly. Just a quick scenario, and we'll wrap it up with this, right? We did a Panthers video before, and I mentioned, letting Frankie Lavu walk, right? Here's how that could possibly play out. Frankie Lavu walks, he signs with another team, $15 million a year, whatever. You get a 4th-round pick in compensation if you're the Panthers. Who cares? We lost our best player, our one of our better players. It is what it is. Going to the next year, 2025 draft, say you're the Panthers, you're picking, say 9th, right? You package your 1st overall pick plus that 4th overall pick, the 4th pick you just got from the comp, plus a future 3rd. You move up to number 2 overall and you draft Travis Hunter. That's a way it kind of comes full circle. Now you have a potential, great prospect as a receiver and a corner, a two-way guy that you let Frankie Lavu walk so you could draft him. That's how it kind of all ties together in that kind of way. But with that, we'll drop it there. Let us know in the comment section what you guys think about our blueprint. What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? We'll always love to hear from you guys. While you're done, hit the like, subscribe button. It helps us a lot, and we put a lot of effort into all these videos, and we really love talking with you guys. But if this is where we're losing it, until next time, it has been Emmett. It's been B. Thank you so much, guys.